a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's the Hour of Empower LinkedIn Live. We do this 7 days a week. The response and the audience and the growth has been phenomenal. The quality takeaways people get are enormous. We depend on you to direct and our thoughts and insights to be more relevant today to you. And if you got something going on, share it with others. We're always here to help. With that said, chat's open. Also, our word of the day is reinvention. And with that said, I'll turn it over to Andrea. Andrea can introduce herself. She's very familiar to so many. Andrea, take it away.
Well, it's me again. and as you may know, I am a life coach and mediator, and I am concentrating on serving and people finding the love for themselves. That's what I do. And I shared the post today, and in there I mentioned the month of mental health awareness, and I also mentioned that a quote, and in this quote it said reinvention is uh, build, building the new you, or the better version of you, and I left it in there, and I kind of disagree. It is, yes, we become a better version, or I would rather say we find our true self again, because I strongly believe that we came here with a purpose, and we were the innocent human being who has not been programmed by society yet. And when we reinvent ourselves, and I know there will be people out there, how can you use reinvention talking about mental health? And I will explain that, because I had my depressions, and maybe when I was a teenager, and then later when I was when after I'd given birth to my first child, and I had the therapy and talking and talking and talking, but nothing really changed. And why did nothing change? Because I did not change myself. I did not change my habits. And when I went into hiding, leaving my narcissistic husband behind, my sister was afraid I would fall into a depression, and I did not, because I started working on myself. I started reinventing, finding the Andrea again, who was always there. And you do that by giving up new bad habits. Like, I had a drinking habit. I was abusing alcohol to an extent. It put me asleep every night. And I mean, so I had to change that, and I had to change, looking after myself, taking care of myself. So it's not so much that you, um, in the process, create the new person. No, it's the person who's always lived within. What you do is you give that person the tools to come back to who you truly are. What do you think?
Well, it makes sense.
Any one of you?
Let me share real quick. We've got Paul here. Paul's here about every day. Thank you, Paul. Christine's here. Christine's amazing. I just saw your report card, Christine. Congratulations. We've got, I guess you must know that lady. I don't want to mess up the name. Shamir is here. Good day. Donald and Andrea, happy to be here. Lillian's here. Lillian's going to come on the show. Morning, Don, Andrea, Paul. Lillian's just so great. Comes here almost every day. It's nice to have circles within circles. Everybody here can support each other. Paul's here. Paul's coming back on the show. People support the show. The show is going to support. Harvey's here. Harvey does Fridays now with Christy and really is doing great. Hello from everyone. Good to be here. Looking forward to it. Kelly, can't say enough about Kelly. She's here every Thursday. We talked yesterday at length. I mean, we got some big ideas and plans ahead of us, so stay tuned. Paul's here with his comment. I think a science principle of natural selection. Life is all about adapting. Other ways you'll get left behind. Here we go with some more. I mean, it's just great when these are just flying in. Never saw this individual before. Maria, thank you for coming in. Argentina.
Maria. Nice.
Yes, so many people from so many places. Again, I can so relate. You can go to therapy, but if you're not ready to be open, honest, and willing to change, it won't work. Well, we caught up. Thank you, everyone. We'll get some more comments. And with that, I want you to meet Robert J. Wolf. Wonderful gentleman. Had the opportunity to speak with him and interact with him. And he's been pretty active on what we're doing here, and this is his first opportunity to share who he is. So anyways, with that, Robert, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you wrote a really fascinating, exciting book that we can get into a little bit later, but let's start with the introduction and a little bit about your story, which is part of the book too, and what's your thoughts on reinvention?
Well, hi, thank you for having me on the program. I much appreciate it. I hope to be able to participate in others from both sides of the camera someday. I'm Rob Wolf. I'm a neuroradiologist and an author, a new author for, say, 5 years, but with an actual book out for about 8 months now. I was born in Detroit. Thank you very much. I was born in Detroit, like Don. We're both Michiganders. I was raised in a small town called Mount Clemens, a little bit east of Detroit, big high school. I was there until 12th grade. Great friends, great parents, great family. I was bar mitzvahed in Mount Clemens. I went to the temple there. It was the only synagogue in Macomb County, whereas in Oakland County, surrounding Detroit on the west side, there were quite a few synagogues, a little bit of a bigger Jewish population. But I ended up going to Tufts University for undergrad. I was fortunate enough to get into Tufts. I majored in biology and psychology. And then I was fortunate enough to get into University of Michigan Medical School and graduated there in 1988. I did a 1-year internship at Framingham Union Hospital, which was a general mixed internship. That's a Boston University affiliate. And then I got into Brown University Rhode Island Hospital for my diagnostic radiology residency. And then I did my neuroradiology fellowship at Yale. Flash forward about 30 years of indentured servantry. I finally get a job. I mean, I moonlit and talk about reinvention. I mean, I've had 27 jobs in my lifetime. So going back to being janitor and cleaning out hot tubs in physical therapy departments and moonlighting jobs and research and teaching and tutoring, about 27, 28 jobs. I include author as one of them, and I include taking care of my mom's affairs as one of them too. So here we are. So I've been practicing radiology for 34 years and counting. I still do very part-time. I've been doing part-time radiology since I was 43. I just turned 60. So about half my career I've been doing part-time. That's another reinvention. I admit I had a little bit of burnout from radiology. The money was good. The career was good. I was bounced around a few times, place to place. That's part of the inclusion of multiple jobs. But in all cases, looking back retrospectively, I would say they did me a favor. Whatever happened to me, it's in Hashem's hand. It's in God's hands. It's the luck of the draw. I've always had great support systems. I've been married a few times. There's a reinvention when you go through it, and I'm still friends with all my former wives. I should say all. I didn't have 8 wives like Henry VIII, but I've got a few. And we're all friends. I mean, it's not we all adult. That's more reinvention. I mean, no doubt about it. So changing jobs, changing plans, changing careers, changing families, changing where I live. I mean, I've lived half my life in New England, half my life in Michigan, and I've been down in Southern Florida now for 4 years and counting. And I've enjoyed just about, let's call it 98% of the time. And same with the career. I'd say 98% of the time was enjoyable. But sometimes those few percent, the lower percentage of bad times can kind of set you back. And those are the parts that you tend to focus on that you really shouldn't. And it's kind of like that with this book too. And we can talk about that in a minute, because that's another, the book in itself is loaded with reinvention. I mean, chapter after chapter, what my dad went through, 5 minutes after 5 minutes after 5 minutes, he was reinventing himself. And it's a very serious book, but it's also, we'll talk about it later, because you referred to that. So that's about it for me. I'm single now. I live in Southern Florida. I'm happy down here. It's I'm supposed to be retired or semi-retired. The history of the book, we'll talk about that too, and that kind of ties me into being down here after my mom passed away in 2016. So I'm still working on myself. I'm working on the book. I'm working on people marketing the book. I'm working on just trying to enjoy the fact that I've actually just won an award, which is over the top. I mean, I just won a Nautilus Book Award for 2023, which I haven't even digested that yet. I'm still, that hasn't sunk in. I don't even think it's sunk in that the book's been published, and it's actually a hard copy rather than, and through Amsterdam Publishers. Thank you very much. They did a great job and picked up the book. So it's actually legitimately published. Not that self-publishing is legitimate, but it's a regular publisher book, and hopefully we'll go a long way with it. Hopefully it carries a long way, because it has a lot of important meaning in it, with anti-Semitism and racism in the backdrop. And I guess that's what I'm charged with now, is to teach the world about the perils of anti-Semitism and power and war, pestilence, greed, and all the bad things that come out in this book. My dad overcame, and so I guess there's reinvention there. We're always reinventing ourselves, whether we know it or not. There's no doubt about it. So,
well, that's great. I mean, you sure have a comprehensive ability to move and flow and allow change to happen. There's so many people who resist it, and they get stuck or they back up. Right. So, I think everything about reinvention is about moving forward, about being forward, and making things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. But what I find about this community we have here, it's so much easier to do it with support, with third-party validation, with friendship. And in this challenging world, I think the answer, again, is peer-to-peer. One person helping the next person, helping the next person. And there's a lot of community and a lot of power for the good, right? If people just push the spotlight where it's good instead of where it's bad, but bad and loud get more attention than soft and personal, right? And that's why breaking off into visual communities in the real time with real conversation and real people gives everybody that support. So with that said, I've got a new person. Well, Jacob is here. I haven't seen Jacob before. And what Jacob says, hi, I'm Jacob, the president of a nonprofit for veterans and first responders struggling with mental health, addiction, and homelessness. Well, that's a virtuous direction. And if more people could do more for more people would get more help. It's as simple as that. Why wait when you've got resources and capabilities? Even commenting, supporting, sharing. What's good for you is good for people like you. Here's from India, Tawfiq. I hope I didn't mispronounce that. Paul, wow, that's an incredible story, Robert. My original goal was to become a neurosurgeon until I took my detour, which inspired my book I'm writing. Good for you. Paul's 26. He acts like he's 66.
I'm 60, going on 40, so I couldn't handle neurosurgery because that was very difficult and very competitive, and that was my first rotation in medical school. So I remember how difficult it was. That was a real eye opener. First rotation as a third-year medical student. Boy, was that hard. All these fourth years, they were all superstars, top 10 medical schools, all trying to get into Michigan and wherever for neurosurgery. Very, very competitive. Real eye opener for the next 2 years. So. Neurosurgery, it's never too late to go back, by the way. If you're 26, I had classmates that already had careers, bankers, teachers, lawyers, actors, that actually went to medical school, not necessarily in a straight path. So it's never too late to change. And that goes for anything too, and not just medicine. I mean,
Yeah.
Sounds great. Well, Dr. Joanne White's here. She was a guest, just knocked it out of the park. Great to see you, Dr. Joanne. Harvey says, Robert, I love your story. I can really relate to your invention. Looking forward to getting into this topic. Paul comes back with, absolutely agree, Robert. I think one of the crucial things that helped accelerate in life is that I wasn't afraid of change. I reinvented myself many times over the past decade, and I'm sure I'll do it many more times in the future. But change is good if it's good change, if things good happen from the change. You know, making the change is just adding another step forward or upward. Dr. Joanne says, yes, we're inventing ourselves all the time. It would be great to be more conscious of it and participating. Great messages in your book, Robert J. Wolf. Jacob comes back with, I've created 3 revenues for nonprofits to be fully financially stable without taking no money from the government or the public. Well, that's a bigger accomplishment. Jacob continues to say, I put it on 3 top shows in the last 6 months. Great for you. Maybe we'll have to talk. Toronto, creating synergies. You know,
Yeah, he is a friend of mine.
Oh, okay, that's good. So, Andrea, what do you think so far about what we're doing today?
Well, I am impressed with Robert's story, and I can totally relate to the 60 and feeling like 40, because 60 is the new 40, they say, right? So I'm heading towards 63. So, and I think our comments today are they're really they're beautiful, and I would like to ask Jacob Glenn, how did you do that? How did you do that without the money of the government? That is really that is huge, and I really compliment you for that. And yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and I love seeing people here who serve others. And well, the more we can do to reinvent, the better it is for everyone. And I was wanting to ask Robert. You were saying you were taking care of your mom's. How do you say that?
Affairs, her affairs.
Affairs. So have you been taking care of her whilst she was alive? Did you live with her, or?
A great question. All right, you're going to bring me to the history of the book. So we'll do the history
Robert's
of the book.
got to talk about the book for a little bit, but I think it's a great story. So, Robert.
Well, they wrote it's quick. They wrote their autobiography. My dad wrote his autobiography in the 1970s. They went from pencil and paper to the typewriter to the computer to a disc, literally. They were sharp. They were educated, Holocaust educators, history educators. They were well-rounded people. They loved arts, the sciences, education, history, travel, all kinds of things. They were very well-rounded people. So they wrote my dad's stories as though they had happened the previous day, sharp as a tack. I never really cared much about the Holocaust the first half of my life, between career and family. My mom talked about it quite a bit. She did more so as life went on further. She talked about it with her friends, her family. My dad, the same thing. My dad was an OBGYN, by the way, so he was a busy man. He delivered 10,000 babies in the Detroit area, which is that's the punchline. That's redemption, indeed. That's not to give too much away, but that's how he ended up reinventing himself, for sure. And he loved it. He would practice till the day he died. He loved every minute of it. So flash forward to 1997, my dad passed away, unfortunately. And my mom was kind of alone for a while. And then she had a boyfriend for 13 years. And that was about the same time. And she was lucky, because a lot of people in my mom's age, in their 70s and 80s, don't get that. I live in a 55 and older, and some people are married, they're happy, boyfriend, girlfriend, but a lot of people are alone. So my mom, they snowbirded in Michigan and down here in southern Florida, which is part of the reason I'm down here. And I didn't really need to take care of my mom. She was very healthy until really her last year of life. She survived breast cancer, and she had a meningioma in her brain, which was asymptomatic, and a couple things, but she was a little bit of blood pressure, but she was healthy. And her 95-year-old boyfriend, Eugene, also Hungarian, who also came to the United States before the war and fought for the United States. One of like 500,000 Jews fought in World War II for the United States, I'm told. So I don't know if that's the exact number, but he was one of them. So he was a war hero in Europe. came back and through friends of friends met my mom, and they were together. So her last 12, 13 years of her life were filled with joy and yichus and nachas, as they say, because of Eugene and his wonderful family, his wonderful daughter, who's like my sister here, her daughter's kids. One's an attorney, married to an attorney. The other one runs a studio. He's done some of my videos. They're fantastic people. They are my family. So my mom passes in 2016, unfortunately, and a historian friend of the family hands me the disc. And I actually took care of my mom's affairs for about a year. She had a Hungarian restitution fund from the Nazis and a German restitution fund. Closing those were a nightmare. Yeah, I needed translators. I'm sending mail back and forth overseas. Had to sell her house, her car. She wasn't Queen Elizabeth or anything, but there were a lot of complex things to her affairs. And it took a good year. And then I retired for a year. I actually retired in 2018, and my wife and I traveled, and it was we spent a little money, and it was nice just having that break. And then a friend of mine in Michigan said he needed help reading X-rays on an outpatient clinic in the Detroit area, Farmington, Michigan. Donald knows, and so I've been doing that since 2018. So I picked that up, and I've worked very part-time, but it's Wednesdays and Thursdays every week, unless I'm away. And that brought me to the disc. So I loaded the disc, and it kind of summoned me like Superman's kryptonite. The disc just summoned me. I put it in the computer, and between cases, I started reading my dad's stories, and I thought, wow, these stories are amazing, miraculous, unbelievable, astounding. Never mind all the escapes he's had and the cloak and dagger stories, which we can talk about when we talk about the book a little bit more. But I had to share it with the world. The anti-Semitism, the backdrop. I could not let this book sit in a disc, sit in a computer, sit on my desk. And there were many years of quiet times. But 20 edits later, I picked up a great co-author, Janice Harper, through another author friend. She hooked us up. Janice redid the book, turned it from a biography to something very, very special. Parallel stories, converging stories, conversations, letters to and from home, from the forced labor camp. And here it is. And then we got Amsterdam Publisher in January of 2022. So we were a whisk away from self-publishing, but Lisbeth Hink, who's the president CEO of Amsterdam Publisher, a wonderful company, and she picked up the book, and so we published it in October.
Okay, that sounds great. I think we covered a lot of ground there. To get to the comments, right here's a comment. Thank you for the encouragement, Robert. I found my purpose now, and because of the medical system, I don't see myself being a neurosurgeon. Changing the financial system and teaching people how to use money instead of being used by it is my focus now. So, Andrea, there's so many different stories going on here today, right? From that relate to reinvention. And Robert's story is pretty compelling and empowering because it's true and it's real. But it also, everything we're talking about has relationships to everything else that is going on today or will go on tomorrow. So what's your thoughts? Well, let me just get with Anne real quick. Anne's just a great lady out of England. Thank you for sharing your family history. Robert, love your mom's zest for life. Great stories, brave people. Congratulations on your new book. Isn't that nice? Well, thank you so much, Anne, for being so thoughtful and taking the time to share that with us. Andrea, what do you think?
Well, there's something hitting my tongue, and I don't know if you will like it or not, but I just say it. It's a bit of a reinvention to be here amongst two Jewish people and being born and raised in Germany. And I'm saying this because I always felt the load of our history, and I am Dutch, but still, and how do I say that? I was always intrigued by books from Jewish writers, and I was always intrigued by the story and the fact that people believe that the Holocaust didn't exist it's outrageous. And I've been to the Anne Frank house in Amsterdam many times with my students, and I come out there crying, and I'm nearly in tears again here. I come out there crying because it's so, we can never we cannot change it, but we can only work on loving and spreading love and accepting diversity, religions, colors, whatever it is, and genders, and name it. And the only thing I could do was giving my son a Jewish name. And yeah, yeah, I'm too emotional, I think.
Oh, that's
Well,
so.
But
well,
it's so,
yeah, but I think that's so uh, wonderful of you to share that, right? Because everything has context. And when you have multiple opinions and insights from different situations or angles, it really tells a better story, a bigger story, and a story that more people can relate to, you know? And what I believe is everybody has the control of themselves and their future, right? And if we can continue to build again in the right direction, and it's going to be shows like this that get people to share their true voice in an audience that's, you know, that's very open and encouraging for it, because that's enough to keep people going. I mean, if you look at the stories Robert shared today, it was all about perseverance and reinvention, right? Every part of it. There are people who gave up, right? There are people who didn't struggle, who didn't survive, right? And what does it say? We should always be empowering ourselves and people around us, because, you know, everybody's braver in a crowd, right? Everybody's will follow the leader if there's a leader. The question is, can you follow yourself when you're by yourself? You know, can you believe in something? And I think all people have is their voice, which is a reflection of their story, and vice versa. So, Robert, what's your thought towards the show today and the audience?
I love it. So I love it. I hope to get invited again sometime. But so I've got some answers. So thank you, Anne, for those kind words. You say my mom, I love your mom's zest for life. So you must be from the British Isles, I'm guessing, but maybe not. But I love that. But thank you for saying that. My dad was the same way. If you knew my dad, jovial and jolly and loved to go to work and said hi to everybody, the janitor and the nurses and the secretaries loved his work. You would never know what he had gone through in his lifetime. It was completely well hidden. And then to Paul, I think it was Paul who said he loves being in the financial. I picked up an interest in finance big time once I started working as a doctor, and I even day traded for a year. So you know, I watched CNBC every day. I used to read Barron's every day. I followed very closely. I'm mostly a buy and hold stock investor now, but if I could do it all again and not go to medical school and not be a professional athlete, which we all want to do as kids, or be Batman or something, then I would have gotten my MBA and then try to run a mutual fund at Fidelity, for example, if I was lucky enough to get elevated to that type of to get that type of position. So the show is great. I love what people are saying. I love the feedback. And then when you talk about emotion, oh my God, when I wrote this book, and even now, I don't know whether to laugh. I don't know whether to cry. I don't know whether to be angry. Maybe a combination of all the above. I mean, when I was writing the book and reading the stories, I had to walk away from the desk for a couple of days at times. It was just so upsetting or harrowing. I had to let it go. So people that read the book say that they can't put it down because it's got so many great adventures in it. But on the other hand, sometimes you have to put it down. When you read what happened to some people and loved ones and people that you knew, while you're trying to just get through it all. So yeah, so it's hard. But and the other thing you said that I want to mention, because you said something about teaching the kids. Ultimately, that's my goal with this book, is to get this book into the classroom. I have grandchildren. I want them to continue the story. From my mouth to God's ears, this book, the story lasts as long as Anne Frank's diary and Schindler's List and all these famous stories that are heartwarming and keep people in the loop about the perils again of the Holocaust, and even beyond the Holocaust. The Jews got hit hard, not only by the Nazis, but the communists too, the Russian communists that occupied Hungary. It wasn't much better for the Jews, short of being exterminated en masse and corralled and things like that. So, yeah, a lot of emotions with that. So, but yes, the book needs to be taught. It needs to be in museums. It needs to be in libraries, and it needs to be in the classroom. And I'm working fervently at that. I'm reaching out to my places I went to school, and places I didn't go to school, and Holocaust educators through LinkedIn, by the way. Thank you to JD, by the way. JD was a guest of yours recently and an expert at LinkedIn. That's all he does now. And he's been doing it, I think, pretty much since LinkedIn was invented. What, 20 years ago now? Is that correct? Did I read that correctly? So thank you, JD. His guidance has helped me find you, for example, and find other people, find the right people to let know about the book and to help spread the word so that we can prevent anti-Semitism down the road, which what we all know is on the rise in Europe and in the United States.
Yes, everywhere, unfortunately.
But not on my watch. Not on my watch. We're headed to the nail.
Good for you, Robert. It seems like you're driven. And let me go through some of these comments. Thank you for this meeting. From global tools, we can unite and create new cooperative bridges, enhancing what each human being is really worth, connecting and helping people, because all brave people are next to your open heart. That's so well put, and just to say that just responsively. Love that you're so open and vulnerable to share your thoughts and feelings, Andrea. Paul says, if you have to lead yourself before you lead others. Back to Manuel, who's been a regular. Now I'm reinventing myself. Last month I quit my job, and now a few steps shy of launching my learning space oriented to develop the creative thinking since childhood, solving real problems, learn to be a creative change leader. Anne says, Andrea, you have a big heart. All countries have a past that is not pleasant. We must learn from past traumatic events in history. So true. Past should not have to be repeated. And that's the challenge. Sharing stories help us reinvent. When you hear someone's story of strength, it empowers you to embrace change. Back to Jacob, if you take greed and self-certainness out of the equation and utilize each other's resources to gain a better foothold in our mission, you will succeed faster, more efficiently. In the early days, if there was a fire in the community, I bet the community had something to do with helping the fire. I value your voice. Jatendra, who's here, a very wonderful individual, comes here quite a bit. Good evening, everyone. Greetings from India. Linda's here. Wow, sounds like a great discussion. We'll come back and hear all. I can say in my life, have went through reinvention. Have a good day, all. Lillian comes back with Robert. You have a full plate, very brilliant, and able to help a lot of people.
Ooh, thank you, Lillian.
Linda is being greeted. Dean's here.
That makes my day. Hearing that makes.
Let me just finish these, and we got to go to Andrea.
Yeah.
Okay, Andrea, go ahead.
I'd like to say something what Dean is saying, because it's so true. We do reinvent every day because we are all in Earth School, yes, and we know where we are going, where we're heading to, because we're all going down that route. But the only thing we can do is learning from our past, as it was said here, and making things better. And I think, there is one quote Rumi said, and it said, he said, "You're not a drop in the ocean; you are the ocean." And this is true. We are all connected, and the more I can serve by others seeing that life starts with loving yourself first, and that you then are not afraid to give anymore. You don't give anything away from yourself. Your bucket is always full because you live in a higher vibration. And what was I going to say? I was going to say, because that is my purpose. My purpose is to spread love and teach about it. And the more I can, we know we will affect every day. There will be, even if there's only just the one person I reach, then that person may pass on the message. And yeah, and I think we all of us have the opportunity to make the world a better place, and it starts with us at home, with us within, and with our families at home.
Well,
And
that's, go ahead.
yeah,
No,
no,
that's so true. Ambimbola is here from Nigeria. We talked about Jitendra. Paul makes a good comment here. Love what you said about stories, Harvey Tech. In my experience, stories are so powerful. Harvey's going to be here Friday again because we can relate, see ourselves in other stories. Then here's a great comment. There is so much evil in the world, including importation and incorporation into important positions. You have to look up. The big picture is important. Many aren't emotionally able to do so. Ambimbola comes back with, hello, Lillian. Sheila's here. I haven't seen Sheila. We just saw that. Tapas is here. Tapas is somebody new but regular lately from India. Thanks, Tapas. Harvey, comments keep coming. This is Dr. Joanne. We're connected and have much in us, much vastness and possibilities, but we need to access it. Love and kindness and compassion are of high vibration for sure, Andrea. And then Anne comes back with, love is the key to open any door. And, I think that's important to go within, find out what your passion is. Everybody's has one. Most people have been storing it away or not being able to activate it. So I think, part of reinvention is really taking inventory of where you're at. I mean, Robert changed jobs 27 times. Must be hard to keep up with who's who after a while.
So many hats.
So what do you think, Robert, about reinvention now?
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm getting a lot of support from those 27 jobs for the book, that people reaching out, and thank God for social media. I mean, when I went to a book meeting in 2018, they talked about social media. I had 800 connections on Facebook. Now I have like 40,000 connections across the board, Facebook and Instagrams and Twitter and here, and a Facebook author page. And then I've got to Google my business page and on and on and on. And I thought I'd never be doing all this. And it's a little bit overwhelming, but it's a heartfelt project, and I'm trying to spread the message, and I'll do it any way I can. What you said, I want to refer to what you said, Andrea, about just changing one person, because one of my early videos that I did, that's actually the last line that I say in the video, that if I could just change one person's attitude with the book, then I will have done my job. And at this point that I know of, it's been 4 or 5 people that I've changed their attitude towards the Jewish religion, the Jewish race, which is amazing. And in a way, including myself, because I didn't really think that much about it when my parents were alive, because you take things for granted. You think life is going to go on forever. You think you're going to live a comfortable life. You think you're not going to have any problems, setbacks, but you do, and you have to tackle them, as my dad did in so many instances. So I think this is a great topic. I think it's worth more than an hour. I think you could do this again, even once a month. I mean, this doesn't just cover my book or those individual stories. It's something that can be discussed again and again, and really never get old, I think. So, but it's just it's going on, and it's going to go on. And if we're going to reinvent ourselves, let's do it for the better. Let's get rid of this nonsense, the anti-Semitism, the racism. When we say history is doomed to repeat itself, if we don't follow it, to paraphrase, then let's create our own history. Let's change that. Let's make. I like people. I tolerate people. I have more Christian friends than Jewish friends. There's only 17 million Jewish people on this planet. I've got Muslim friends. I've got African American friends. I've got a lot of friends from Jamaica and South America, India, really all over, and relatives all over too. And that's like my parents. That's how they were. They like to meet people. They like to learn about different cultures, different ways of life. They were open-minded. I swear, if they could have flown to space, they would have. They would have thought twice about going to the moon. That's just how they were. So
that's great.
That's great. And I think that's encouraging for other people to hear stories that allow them to reinvent themselves with the benefit of somebody else's story. Here's a comment from Harvey. Love what you said about finding your passion. I've only just discovered that mine is helping other people. I feel driven to do it, but at the same time flexible and adaptable to change so I can learn and improve. That's wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah,
Because
because
we're starting with ourselves, huh? We're
Mhm.
starting with changing within ourselves, and this is how you reach and help others. This is how it is. I said it before. It's not something which happens overnight. It's a long way, but once you're on the road, it becomes a lifestyle. There's no way back. There's no way back. Only forward.
yeah, well, you've proven it so well, Andrea, of being able to persevere yourself and reinvent yourself and find a happier self at the end of the journey. And I think to Robert's point is being able to help people through people, right? Because you can only help so many people directly. I mean, how many patients can you see at one time? But if you connect with a community that then projects their, let's say, relevant alignment with you to their groups, then it becomes, significant in the reach one can have. So Paul says, I always tell myself the only number I care about is that number. If anything I do share impacts one person, it's always worth it to me. That's how I don't get caught up in the vanity metrics of these platforms. Anne says, Robert, when we have purpose, we are on a mission to succeed in what we have a passion for. Lillian comes back with, Robert, you can add me to the friends list. That's nice of you, Lillian.
I thought I did. I thought I reached out to Lillian, but I'll have to double check.
Well, all these comments are going to be on the post. So if you didn't see everybody or notice everybody, everybody's got a chance to go back and use this as an opportunity to network, make connections, make conversations, get some input. You can't have a poll of one and be really reliable. So it's good to reach out. Don and always have such a great insight. My vote is that she should be a co-host.
I agree.
Yeah, I've reached out.
I agree.
Anne has an open invitation. I've reached out to Anne already. If you support the show, the show should support you. It's good to be open-minded. This could be Roxanne. Yep, that's right, Andrea. It becomes a lifestyle because it's a mindset. It radiates from within. So, with so many people who relate to what we're talking about, that's a glimmer of hope, right? It's people finding a safe spot where they can get credible, reliable individuals who want to share at an equal level, right? We're not talking down or at, it's more sharing, learning, collaborating. So Robert, any comments here that come out?
Always. So you mentioned patients. So as a radiologist over 30 some years, I've read thousands and thousands of x-rays, CAT scans, MRI, ultrasound, barium enemas. I've done angios and procedures. I've done abscess drainages. I've put in filters. I've declotted, you name it. I've done it. I've been urinated on, bled on, pooped on, you name it. Cerebral spinal fluid, codes. And I've helped a lot of people and without hurting too many. So there's one point. And my dad was a doctor and he helped a lot of people and his dad was a dentist who helped a lot of people, even did freebies back in the day. So, but I was compensated for it. I mean, it was a career. It still is, but I'm compensated for it. Then in 2014, I helped some family members and friends do a fundraiser. It was a multi-class reunion, multiple bands fundraiser for Why Me Foundation in Worcester, Massachusetts, which they raised money to help impoverished families whose kids have cancer and they need to be treated for an extended period of time, but they can't afford the travel and the lodging. So it's sort of a Ronald McDonald House, but we raised a lot of money for this organization that I just heard of that year. And it was so great running around and doing work to help people that I never met and never knew and never will meet. And that was a fantastic experience. And then I get to now with this book, and I think I'm doing even more. I think I'm really going to be helping a lot of people in the long run. And that's a good feeling. It may be the most important thing I've ever done in my life. And if it's not, even better yet. But right now, I think that's the case. So when you mention patients, yeah, we worked, we're paid for it, but we do help a lot of people. But it's nice, whether you're paid or not, to help people with a message like this, at least in my case. So I appreciate you bringing that up about the patients. Can I take a minute to talk about the book? Just Is that
What
okay?
you've been talking, how
You
long?
have done nothing else?
Yeah,
So,
that's,
I
no,
mean, just
I think, Robert, to be honest, the book is done for today. So
Okay.
it's all about what the audience wants to do, and with reinvention. So Andrea, what topics or comments or individuals stand out to you?
Well, they all are great. And I just want to say, how many people are in the audience now? Can you see that?
Not really, not accurately at least.
But we definitely reached more than one person today.
No doubt.
Hey, Robert, what do you say?
I do.
Yeah.
I agree. I'd like to see Paul. I would like to
Absolutely.
see Paul do the financial. Is he ever a host on this
Oh
program?
yeah, Paul's been
Yes,
here a couple
Paul is a
times, and
host.
he
Yeah.
has an open invitation. Actually, I just reached out to Paul a week ago, and I think some people like participating in the audience. Plus, a lot of people I think are multitasking, right? So they can listen to this while they're working or watch it, but would really commit the whole time possibly. But yeah, I mean, Paul's been on, Lillian's coming on, everybody's coming on. Well, first of all,
Bola.
7 days a
And
week.
there
There's,
are new people, and Roxanne. Well, the
oh yeah,
fact that there are new people is amazing. So
well,
that's
people bring friends who
yeah.
bring friends, and if you have a great message and you have a great show that you participate in, why wouldn't you want to share it? I mean, whether it's a book, whether it's a post, whether it's a LinkedIn Live, the best things you can post are the things that can help people,
Yeah.
right? Too many people are sharing things that are important to them that may not be important to others, right? And a lot of people are not going to be open to something until they really get to know the person, right? And that's one thing that patience goes a long way, is measuring, right? I mean, a lot of things are based on being nuanced, right? Having a facet, having something. But without an audience, there is nothing, right? I mean, you're talking to yourself. And that's why the key thing is takeaways. And if we're talking about reinvention, part of reinvention is learning from new people, new sources, and using that to give you the confidence to make the change. Every change shouldn't be jumping out of a building. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be drastic. And it doesn't have to take place until you're ready, right? I mean, most people would like to have something to go to before they leave something. And I think that's the key, is building when you don't need it, and there's a saying, be known before you're needed, because at least you'll get top of mind awareness out of it. Harvey's here. Well, first we'll go with Jacob. You give a guy a fish to leap for a day, you teach a man to fish the weeper lifetime. I've heard that. Donald Cohn-Lovwich said about finding your passion, I've only just discovered mine. Okay, I think we covered that. Robert, okay, when we have purpose, we're on a mission to succeed in what we have passion for. Here's Paul again. Don, okay, we saw that. Oh, Omar's here. Hey guys, great comments and talks listening from YouTube. See, it shows when you connect to YouTube, there are people who watch that, not just LinkedIn Live. Thank you for the pleasure of helping others as a secret of living happily. We are a friend now. Gracias, abrazo. I'm sure that's something very positive. So, Robert, we're almost ready to close up the show in about 11 minutes. What's your thoughts at this point?
Well, it's a pleasure hearing these people and meeting new people, and I look forward to connecting with more people. My purpose is clear, as you know. I'm happy.
Yeah, that is clear.
I'm happy to spread the message. And like I said, I've been charged with this, and I'll do it any way I can. And I try to do it with some humor. I try to enjoy my life. I do have I'm not just one-dimensional, by the way. I do like sports and music, and I love music. I go to a lot of concerts. I'm a foodie. I like to cook. I like to eat out. I fine dining. I'm traveling now. I'm traveling when I can, book and otherwise. I mean, so I'm interested in history. I was always science and math. So now it's history and English, I guess. Now I'm an English PhD and a history PhD, all boiled into one. So you can reinvent yourself, and I encourage physicians. A lot of physicians have burnout, and that's a big thing too, for whatever reason, whether it's night call or the workload or paperwork or the politics of it. And I encourage physicians that do have that to not necessarily give up their practice, but they should pivot. They should change and do something else. Write a play, write a poem, write a book of poems, write a book, write a movie, join a rock band, whatever, travel, take some breaks, go part-time, pick up an instrument, whatever work, spend more time with your family, go to the gym. There's so many things we can do out there that we refuse to find the time for. And I think that's a big lesson for me for reinvention, is that I'm not going to stay stagnant any given day, let alone any given year. It's just not, life is short. You mentioned that, it's fleeting. Our best commodity is time. It's our most important commodity as you learn, as we get older, and instead of fighting it, I'm going to work with it and try to better myself, better the people around me, and that's about it.
Well, you got an incredible history of making changes, and obviously you're very passionate about what you're doing and have purpose and mission, which is great for everybody. And I guess it's people looking inside themselves to say, what did they always want to do that they decided for whatever reason they couldn't do it, or now they can. And that's where the reinvention comes from, is being your best self that you know is there. And if you have an opportunity through relationships or through the ability to project it, because, a show like this really gives somebody a true voice and a true audience. And, to Andrea's point, if it helps one person, everybody comes out of here with something more than they came in here, right? It could be a mindset adjustment. It could be a new connection. It could be a new quote that they start to replicate through others. But whatever it is, it should be a marketplace, and life is a marketplace, right? You go in and ask for what you want for it with some sort of currency, and then you're asked for things from other people, and it's really how you respond, how you reciprocate, and more importantly, how you choose who it is that you decide to reciprocate with. So it's constantly dynamic in so many ways, especially when you're dealing with people, relationships, changing times. I mean, we're in most cases in a reactive mode, right? Things happen, we've got to deal with them. Something shows up, didn't expect it, well, we got to make an accommodation. But by staying flexible, fluid, and open-minded, and I think, that's really one of the key words that goes with reinvention, is open-minded. You can't reinvent yourself if you stop half of what comes into you as far as, what you see or what you want to see. So I think honesty goes a long way towards reinvention, integrity, and like every car company, they come up with a new model every year, and coming from Detroit, it used to be a big deal, but, everybody should come up with their new model every year, take the best of what they've built, get rid of the stuff that's not working, replace it with new, updated, relevant situations. Andrea, what's your final thoughts?
My final thoughts, I wanted to add a funny story to reinvention, because I've been 4 days in Italy with my sisters, and it's the first time since years, the three of us, right? So I'm the youngest, and the oldest and the middle one, they were constantly fighting. There were comments, and there were rolling eyes, and I just watched them, and I thought, haven't I grown? I've outgrown them, yeah. But then we were on a terrace, and then it really escalated. The oldest of the two was kind of da 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 da, and I was sitting there quietly watching the two, like, I don't know, chickens. Do you say the chickens? Ta 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 ta, and blaming each other for this and the other. And all of a sudden, my older sister looked at me and she said, you keep your mouth shut, and you don't need to feel embarrassed sitting here with us. The whole terrace is already looking at us. I thought, no, I don't feel embarrassed. I just feel I am surprised. And at a point, I had a moment to say something. I said, should you not look at why you are having these conflicts since young age? And then my older sister said, don't hang out the mediator here. Shut up. And after that, both of them separately came to me complaining. So there I was coaching them separately. You know why, this is your trigger because you think you're not good enough. And when you realize a trigger, just roll it off your shoulder. Whatever she's saying, roll it off. And my sister was saying, it's so difficult. Yes, it is difficult, but it is knowing yourself well enough. That's one point. And the other is when you realize the trigger and you let go, then you have a much easier life, right? It's a simple, but it was 4 days of fun for me. And I'm so much lighter at heart. So we were at the terrace and there were guys on a table next to us, and they started a conversation with us. Blondes, are you from Denmark? Of course, everybody who's blonde is coming from either Sweden or Denmark. That is one thing. But then the other one was the guy. They were Italian and they were coming from Bologna. And all of a sudden, this one guy said to me, your English is very good. How come? I said, I've been married to an Englishman, and I'm now looking for an Italian to learn Italian. And my sister, she nearly fainted. And this is the difference of people, and this is how my reinvention has gone a lot further than theirs, right? So just something to spice up this conversation and having a bit of fun.
Well, that's why I think you're such a great co-host, is because you illuminate, the joy and the sincerity of sharing your true experiences. Let's see what Andrea, you are.
Funny. Yeah, right. I know.
Congratulations to all your greatness come from heart and mind of people and has no relationship with skin color or race. Your reinvention inspires us. Everybody wants to see the after picture, right? Everybody's focused on the before picture, but when you can show the after picture, because there's enough tragedy and things that without even your doing comes to you, right? The environment, the culture, the media. When you can finally break out of that, right, and reinvent yourself with people, and if everybody realizes everybody's in the same boat, right? Roxanne said there's a new reinvention. I'm cheering for you. Well, I think that helps Andrea. She's had so much feedback over the weeks, right, and communications with all these people. It's easier when everybody knows you and believes that, you could be a great resource for them or people like them. Omar comes back with, you're right, Dean. When is the show starting at Andrea surfing?
I don't know because I am traveling again on Thursday, going back to the Netherlands, and I have my scan on Monday. I'm getting a bit nervous now. It's getting closer. I still believe it is just a scar on my lung from the COVID experience, but I have to wait. I have to wait and see how all this turns out. I have to wait. I can't make any plans.
Well, one day at a time, and I know you got a wonderful attitude, Andrea, and we're we're hoping and praying for great results too.
If you have any radiology questions, let me know.
Okay, thank you.
No charge. I do a lot of pro bono stuff. So,
Okay, thank you.
and travel
That's
alone.
nice.
I went to Israel alone. They say all Jews should go to Israel. Everybody should go to Israel. It's a game changer. It'll change your attitude just being there. That's another thing. So travel alone. Travel alone. If you walk away from your sisters if they're fighting, you know, they don't have to ruin your vacation.
Well.
But you know, everybody has a personality and a character, and everybody should be celebrated for just being fellow human beings, you know, sharing this earth together. So with that, we covered it, hit the top of the hour, very respectful of where everybody has to go next. So with that said, I want to thank Robert and Andrea so much for being great co-host and sharing so much wonderful information. So with that said, bye for now. See you in about 23 hours.
Bye-bye. See